Mara, loyalty is expensive when your husband is hiding debt and secrets.
What secrets?
Victor, leave her out of this. Too late. Sign it, Mara. $5 million and your problems disappear. Mara, don't let him buy our life.
Why does this feel bigger than money? No amount of money can buy my soul.
Mara, you just made the pauperest choice of your life.
The bank went silent when I tore the check in half. $5 million fell in two soft pieces onto the marble floor. The paper made almost no sound, but my heart sounded like a drum in my ears. Victor Hale stood in front of me in his black suit. His smile was gone. My husband, Eli, stood beside me, with mud still on his boots. His face was pale, his hands were shaking. The divorce papers lay on the desk between us. Victor leaned close and said, "Mara, you just made the poorest choice of your life." I looked at the torn check, then I looked at Eli. But Eli was not looking at me. He was staring at the small brass key around my neck, like it had turned into a knife. And that was when I knew something was still hidden. 3 days earlier, I was not in a bank. I was on my knees in our potato field, pulling weeds with dirty fingers. The soil was cold and wet. It smelled like rain and rust. Our old tractor coughed behind me like a sick man. Eli stood near the fence, hitting the engine with a wrench. "Come on," Eli said to the tractor. "Don't die before I do." I tried to laugh, but the sound stuck in my throat. The bank had given us 7 days. 7 days to pay $68,000. If we did not pay, we would lose the farm, the house, the field, the shed where Eli carved my name into the wood on our wedding night. I touched the brass key on the string around my neck. It was the key to our first rented room. Eli had given it to me when we had nothing. He always said, "This key opens no door now, but it reminds me what we survived." That morning, it felt heavy. Eli saw me touch it. "Mara," he said softly, "don't look like that." "Like what?" "Like you are already leaving." My chest tightened. I'm trying to save us," I said. Eli wiped oil on his jeans. "Then, talk to me. Don't carry the whole farm in your mouth and call it strength." I turned away because he was right. That was my bad habit. I smiled when I was scared. I hid bills in flour tins. I told Ella I was fine, then cried in the chicken shed where only feathers could hear me. That secret habit had already cost us. The week before, I had ignored 3 bank calls because I did not want to ruin Eli's birthday dinner. By the time Eli found the letters, the bank had added fees we could not pay. Eli forgave me with his mouth, but his eyes had not. A car horn cut through the field. A long black car rolled up our dirt road. It looked wrong beside our broken fence, like a shark in a pond. Lena got out first. My sister was 22, thin and sharp-eyed. She wore a red scarf even though the day was warm. Her lips looked dry. When she hugged me, I felt her bones. "Mara," Lena whispered, "please don't get mad." Before I could ask why, a tall man stepped out of the car. Victor Hale. Everyone in town knew Victor Hale. He owned the cannery, the hotel, the glass office near the river, and half the men who worked too hard for too little. Eli's jaw locked. Victor looked at our field, our house, our tractor, and then at me. "Marako," Victor said, "you are hard to find." I wasn't hiding. I said. "No," Victor said. "Poor people are easy to find. Proud ones are not." Eli moved closer to me. "What do you want?" Eli asked. Victor smiled at Eli, but he spoke to me. "I want 5 minutes with your wife." "No," Eli said. I should have said no too, but Lena grabbed my wrist. Her fingers were cold. "Mara, listen to him," Lena whispered. "Please, it matters." I looked at Lena's red scarf. Beneath it, I saw the small purple bruise from her hospital needle. My stomach dropped. "What happened?" I asked. Lena looked away. Victor answered. "Your sister needs medicine your family cannot afford." Ellie stared at Lena. "Why didn't you tell us?" Lena's eyes filled. "Because you can't even save your own roof." The words hit harder than a slap. Eli stepped back. I felt anger rise, but fear rose faster. Victor opened a leather folder. The smell of expensive paper mixed with tractor oil and wet dirt. I can pay the bank today, Victor said. I can pay your sister's hospital bills. I can give you a clean house, a warm bed, and money enough to never count coins again. Eli gave a bitter laugh. And what do you get? Victor's eyes stayed on me. A signature. My mouth went dry. What kind of signature? I asked. Victor placed one paper on the hood of his car. Divorce papers. The wind lifted one corner like he wanted me to read faster. Eli did not speak. That silence scared me more than shouting. Victor said, Mara divorces Eli. Quietly. By Friday at noon, she lives with me. In return, she receives $5 million. Lena gasped. I felt the ground tilt. Eli said, You're sick. Victor did not even blink. No, I am honest. Most people can be bought. I just named the price. I looked at Eli. He looked at the paper, then at me. For one terrible second, I saw a question in his eyes, not anger. Fear. He thought I might take it. That hurt because part of me had already counted what the money could do. The farm saved, Lena alive. No more cold nights deciding between seed and food. I hated myself for counting. Victor noticed. Of course, he noticed. He stepped closer. Love is sweet when the lights are on, Victor said. But death is what talks in the dark. Eli's fists closed. I grabbed his arm before he could move. Victor's smile came back. Smart wife. Eli pulled away from my hand. That small movement broke something in me. Leave, Eli said. Victor looked at his watch. Friday, noon. My driver will take Mara to the bank. If she's not there, the offer dies. So may this farm. Lena whispered. And my treatment. I turned to her. Lena. She wiped her cheek fast, angry at her own tears. I don't want your husband, Mara. I want to breathe without burning inside. Victor got into his car. Before the door closed, he said one last thing. Ask Eli why he really hates me. The car rolled away, leaving dust in the air and poison in my chest. I turned to Eli. What did he mean? Eli picked up the divorce paper and crushed it in his hand. Nothing. That word was too fast. Ellie. He walked toward the barn. I followed him. The barn smelled of hay, mice, and old rain. Eli shoved the paper into the stove, but the stove was cold. Tell me, I said. Eli would not face me. It was before you, he said. What was? He touched the scar on his left hand. A scar he always said came from a broken plow. My skin went cold. Eli, I whispered. What did you do? He turned then, and his eyes were wet. I chose wrong once, he said, and Victor never let a wrong choice die. A floorboard creaked behind us. Lena stood in the barn door, holding my brass key in her palm. My neck felt bare. I'm sorry, Lena said. I looked from Lena to Ellie. How did you get that? Lena's face twisted with shame. Then my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number lit the screen. Come to the bank Friday, or Ellie goes to jail. Below the words was a photo. Eli, younger, standing beside Victor Hale. And between them, on a table, was a bag full of cash. The photo shook in my hand. Eli looked 10 years younger in it. His face was thin, his hair was longer, his eyes were hard in a way I had never seen. Victor Hayes stood beside him like a proud owner, and the bag of cash sat between them like a dead animal. Lena still held my brass key. The barn felt too small. The air smelled of dust and old hay. My tongue tasted like metal. Tell me that is fake, I said. Eli looked at the phone. Then Eli closed his eyes. That was my answer. Lena whispered, Mara, I didn't know what it meant. Victor's driver gave me an envelope. He said if I brought the key, Victor would pay for 1 month of medicine. I stared at my sister. You sold my key? Lena flinched like I had hit her. I saw the thing, Lena said, crying now. You act like love lives in metal. Eli opened his eyes. No, Eli said. Sometimes proof does. I turned on him. Do not talk about proof. Not while your face is in a photo with Cash and Victor Hill. Eli took one step toward me. I stepped back. Pain crossed his face, but he did not blame me. That made it worse. Years ago, Eli said, I worked for Victor. You told me you worked at the mill. I did. After. After what? Eli rubbed the scar on his left hand. His fingers shook. Victor made people disappear on paper, Eli said. Debts, names, land records. He paid poor boys to carry bags and not ask questions. My heart hit my ribs. Were you one of those poor boys? Eli nodded. I was 18. My mother was sick. I thought one dirty job would save her. Lena let out a small broken laugh. That sounds familiar. The words cut through all three of us. Eli looked at her. I am sorry. Lena wiped her nose with the back of her hand. Sorry does not buy medicine. I wanted to comfort Lena. I wanted to slap Eli. I wanted to run after Victor and tear his face off. Instead, I did what I always did. I made a plan alone. I grabbed the phone and walked out of the barn. Ellie followed me. Mara, don't shut me out. I kept walking toward the house. Behind us, Lena coughed hard. It was a wet, ugly sound. It bent her body forward. I stopped. So did Eli. That cough was the sound of the clock ticking. Friday noon was not just about the farm anymore. It was about Lena breathing. Inside the kitchen, the light above the sink buzzed. A pot of beans sat cold on the stove. The room smelled like onion and fear. I put the phone on the table. Tell me everything, I said. Ellie sat down slowly. There was a farmer named Jonah Reed, Ellie said. Victor wanted his land. Jonah would not sell. One night, Victor told me to carry a bag to the county office. I thought it was money for a clerk. Later, Jonah lost his land. Then Jonah vanished. My knees weakened. Vanished? Eli nodded. People said he ran away. I never believed it. I touched the edge of the table to stay standing. What does that have to do with me? Eli looked at my neck, where the key used to hang, because Jonah Reed was your father's friend. My breath stopped. My father had died when I was 6. He had worked himself sick after losing a land deal. My mother always said bad luck ate him. Bad luck suddenly had a name. Victor Hill. I whispered. You knew? Not at first, Eli said. By the time I learned who Jonah was, I had already fallen in love with you. Then I was afraid if I told you, you would see me as part of what broke your family. You let me marry a lie. Eli's face crumpled. No, he said. I loved you with the truth in my throat every day. That is still a lie. He did not argue. That silence hurt more than any excuse. The phone buzzed again. This time it was a voice message. I pressed play. Victor's calm voice filled our kitchen. Mara, I hope Eli has started confessing. Here is the simple truth. Divorce him by Friday noon, and the past stays buried. Refuse, and I give the police enough to hang your husband for crimes he did not finish. The message ended. The buzzing light over the sink sounded louder. Eli stood. I'm going to him. No, I said. He's threatening you. He's baiting you. Eli grabbed his coat. I grabbed his arm. For 1 second, we were back in the field. Me holding him back. Him pulling away. Only this time, I did not let go. Eli, I said, if you go angry, Victor wins before Friday. Eli looked at my hand on his sleeve. Then Lena spoke from the doorway. What if Victor is not afraid of Eli? She asked. We turned. Lena's face was pale, but her eyes were sharp. What do you mean? I asked. Lena lifted the brass key. When I gave this to the driver, he smiled. Not like he got a necklace, like he got evidence. The kitchen went cold. Eli took the key from Lena and held it under the buzzing light. At first, it was just our old key. Then Eli scratched the dark dirt from the hollow top. A thin black line showed. He twisted it. The key opened. Inside was a tiny roll of paper, yellow, with age. My mouth went dry. Ellie stared at it like he had seen a ghost. What is that? I asked. He unfolded the paper. His lips moved, but no sound came out. I snatched it from him. There were names on it. Victor Hill, Jonah Reed, my father's name, and one more name that made Lena cover her mouth. Ellie Cole. But the handwriting at the bottom was not Eli's. It was my father's. The note was short. If I die, do not trust the boy. He carried the bag. The room tilted. Eli whispered, Mara, I swear I never saw this. My fingers closed around the paper. For years, I had worn love around my neck. Now, it felt like I had won a warning. Then, someone knocked on our kitchen door. 3 hard knocks. Eli moved first, but I lifted my hand. I opened the door. 2 police officers stood on the porch. Behind them, parked on our dirt road, was Victor Hale's black car. One officer looked at Eli. Eliko, she said, we need you to come with us. I stepped in front of my husband. Victor rolled down his window and smiled at me. Then my phone buzzed one more time. Signed tomorrow morning, Mara, or watch him sleep in a cell. By sunset, Eli came home. He walked up the dirt road with red marks on his wrists from the cuffs. His shirt was wrinkled. His face looked older than it had that morning. I stood by the broken fence. Neither of us ran. Too much had happened for running. Ellie stopped in front of me. I should have told you, Eli said. Yes, I said. I was afraid you would hate me. I did hate you for one night. Eli nodded like he deserved it. I held out the brass key. His face tightened. I don't deserve that back, Eli said. No, I said. You don't. His eyes dropped. I closed his hand around the key anyway. But we both have to stop hiding things and calling it protection. Eli's fingers closed over mine. The air smelled like wet soil and smoke from someone's stove. Far away, Lena laughed weakly at something Grace said in the kitchen. It was a small sound, but it was alive. Eli looked at the field. The bank will still come, he said. I know. We may lose the house. I know. He looked at me then. And you still chose me? I looked at his car. I looked at the key. I looked at the land that might not be ours much longer. No, I said softly. I chose the truth. You were just standing inside it. Eli let out a broken breath. Then Grace stepped out of the house, holding a brown envelope. Mara, Grace said, there's one more thing. My heart went cold again. No more secrets, I said. Grace nodded. That is why I am giving it to you now. She handed me the envelope. Inside was a copy of an old land paper. My father's name was on it. So was Jonah Reed's name. Grace pointed to one line. Your father and Jonah Reed bought part of this farm before Victor stole the records, Grace said. Victor's fake death made it look like the land was never yours, but the real papers say different. Eli stared at the page. What does that mean? He asked. Grace smiled, but her eyes were wet. It means Victor did not own the loan he used to crush you. The bank has to review it. And Officer Dean already sent the papers to the county judge. My knees went weak. The farm was not fully safe yet, but it was not lost. Not tonight. Lena came to the doorway with her red scarf around her shoulders. Mara, Lena said, Grace called the clinic too. They can start my medicine tomorrow. There is a victim fund for people Victor hurt. I covered my mouth. For the first time all day, I cried without hiding. Eli reached for me, then stopped, waiting. That small pause mattered. He was asking now, not taking. I stepped into his arms. His coat smelled like jail soap, death, and home. Lena cried too. Grace looked away, wiping her eyes like the dust had bothered her. The brass key pressed between Eli's hand and mine. For years, I thought it meant we had survived being poor. Then I thought it meant betrayal. Now I knew what it really was. Not a key to a room, not a key to money, a key to the truth. And truth had opened the one door Victor Hale never wanted us to find. The next morning, Ellie and I walked the field together. The tractor was still broken. The fence still leaned. The bank still had papers to sign. Lena still had a long fight ahead. Nothing was magically fixed, but Eli did not walk ahead of me, and I did not carry the bills alone. When we reached the edge of the potato field, Eli took the brass key from his pocket and placed it in my hand. "You keep it," he said. I shook my head. "We keep it." So we tied the string around the fence post between our field and the road. It swung there in the wind, small and bright, a reminder to anyone who passed by. Some things can be bought, some things can be stolen, but love that stands in truth cannot be sold. The end.